Welcome back. It's 20 degrees this morning, so rather than work on the sill plate, we're going to be cutting some trails down by the creek. These are some of the logs I referenced in one of the other videos. These are all white oak that we took mostly from this sawmill area and a little bit from the house site that we cleared as well. You probably use those mostly for finishing pieces, as I've mentioned before, flooring and cladding and the like. There's some good, definitely some good lumber out of there. These logs here, actually a big oak fell down near the road in a windstorm. So I processed these. Unfortunately, about 15 feet of the bottom of the tree was rotted through the center, but we were still able to get some good lumber from it, and we'll definitely be able to use it for something. And here's another view of the house from the downhill side. I don't think I've shown it from this side. So this is a little trail just coming from the sawmill down to the trail that leads down to the creek. This is the back side of the house, and this is where the decks will be built, and we'll sort of overlook the ridge as it rolls down to the creek, and we get a good view of the ridge on the other side as well. So none of these trails were here when we bought the property. There's one small trail that led up to the road that forks off to the right here, but we're going to go down to the left, and this is all cut in. We used the bulldozer when we were leveling the house site to clean this up. There was basically a gully that was rushing with water whenever it rained, and again, we just took the bulldozer and filled the gully and just leveled out a good riding path all the way down to the creek. I've dressed it a little bit with the box blade on the tractor, but we will have to probably come back here with the bulldozer and just pitch it a little bit better so that the water doesn't rut that path over time. And this piece down by the creek is one of the reasons we bought the property. It's just such a beautiful spot. We'll end up putting a pavilion down here and making it someplace where we come, in respite during the summer. I haven't done an exact measurement, but from the top of the road down to the bottom of this creek is something like a 300-foot drop. It's pretty significant, and you can see the foliage changes. You'll see in a little bit that there's a lot of moss down here. It's just a completely different ecosystem. And in the dead of the summer, when it's 95 degrees at the top, it'll be easily 10 degrees cooler down here. So it's a really nice place to hang out. And one of the reasons we're going to clear some trails today is we want to be able to walk the area around here. As I mentioned, there's a lot of snakes in this area, and so we just want to make it as clean as we can. Have a couple of different purposes for trails down here. One, as I mentioned, is just walking. We want to be able to walk the entire piece of property. It's about 26 acres, and most of it is very, very heavily wooded and very steep. But there are areas where you can wind in and out and make very manageable trails for walking and hiking, and so that's part of it. The other thing is I need access to some of these deeper areas of the property for trees for the house, for lumber. And I want to be able to get them out. I do have a logging winch that I use to pull trees that I've cut, and I can get them. I can pull them 150, 200 feet, but it's a bit difficult because of the lay of the land. So just having more trails back here gives me the ability to get in here with the tractor. Um, Mostly what I'm doing here is just cutting up lumber that's on the ground, fallen trees and stuff, just to get, like I said, a nice walking path so you always know where to go and it's always clear. We'll ultimately have markers and probably multiple ways of hiking the property as we move forward. This is a pretty tight section, as you can see, and there's actually a pretty big drop off right behind the tractor there. So this will probably just be a walking path, and it's fine for it to be rough. And while this looks pretty open, it's just because the leaves haven't come back in. Once the leaves on these trees all pop, this becomes very difficult maneuvering through it. And so that's the other reason for having the trails, just so you can walk through this without literally having to cut through branches and leaves and stuff, every step of the way. So this is another outcropping of rock, and it actually combines into a swale that leads down to the creek. So this is the other side of that trail we were just looking at, and it actually has a really nice spot right down in here to the creek. So I'm going to probably just work on this dead end trail today. This is about 50 or 60 yards up from the other section, the clearing where the blue chairs are. Over there, it's a good 20, 25-foot drop from the pavilion, where the pavilion will be, down to the water. So I only want to cut enough trees down to allow me to get the tractor through. I want to be able to get the tractor on any of the trails that we cut through this property. For the most part, might have a few strictly walking trails that could be narrower, but uh, decided to take this tree down because the darker tree in the foreground is an evergreen, and these other two are scrub oaks, and they were kind of crowding it. So I trimmed up that evergreen a little bit and just took down those trees next to it so that it might have some more room to grow and get a little bit more sunlight. I'm trying very hard not to take down any evergreens on the property. It's nice to have the coverage in the winter, and we have plenty of oak that I can work with for the most part. There are some good size cedars deeper in the property, one or two of which I'll take for some beams inside the house, or some other exterior applications where cedar tends to fare well. So this is just a reminder to stay safe. This didn't happen today, and I wasn't being dangerous when it did. But the chain guard there got crunched when I was chopping down that oak that fell in the storm. Actually, it was already down, and I was cutting it into logs, and it just pinched. So be careful. So now just taking a quick walk through the trail that we just cut. The goal will be to have trails that follow the edge of the creek all the way down the property, which is a fair ways. And then also have trails moving more interior to the property in the forest. As I've mentioned before, there's some nice pine stands. There's just a lot of different types of topography and fauna, flora uh, in different sections of the property. So now this goes all the way down to the creek. You can walk right in, and that'll be a nice little access point here. We have several others further up and down, but this will be a good way. And now we're just seeing the house again coming up from the creek. Yes, that's my chainsaw, not so precariously balanced on top of the grapple. I don't have a chainsaw scabbard on the tractor yet. I have one on my logging winch, but I need to put one on the tractor, so that'll be a project here soon. If anyone has any thoughts on how they would do it, certainly let me know. But that's it for today. Much appreciated, and see you next time.